Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers about their lives in and out of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity, community service work, and, just inspiring others. We're all about positivity here on the show. And with me today, I've got a very special guest. He is a former IWF heavyweight champion, SAW heavyweight champion, Wrestle Pro silver champion, as well as a former ISPW tri-state champion. With me today, please welcome the one and only Shawn Donavan. Shawn, welcome to Wrestling with Heart.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's all mine for sure. Let's get into it. So tell me about your childhood. Where did you grow up?
Sure. So I grew up in a middle-class town called Maplewood, New Jersey. It's in our state. We kind of have three areas. We have North Jersey, we have Central Jersey, and we have South Jersey. I kind of grew up along that northern central line. So, but now I reside in South Jersey, where the beaches are. So I'm in great weather.
That's great. Big music town, home of Bruce Springsteen, and you ever go to some of the clubs?
Oh yes, my earlier days, I've been to all the clubs, Bar A, DJs, Martell's, you name it. Jenkinson's Boardwalk, you name it. I've been there. So
the Stone Pony was a big one. Yeah,
Stone Pony's a good one. Yeah, I've been to Asbury many a times and seen a lot of good concerts there. So, it's pretty wild. Actually, a funny story is my parents, their first date was at the Stone Pony, and they saw Bon Jovi before he was ever a name. So,
wow, how cool is that?
Pretty cool stuff. Yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Right on. Just never know when somebody can get up there and be big, right?
Absolutely, you never know.
Yeah, all right. So what kind of got you into professional wrestling?
My earliest memories of watching it with my grandfather. I was probably around 5 or 6 years old, and watching him watching him get into it. My grandfather, my grandparents, they were directly off the boat from Italy. So around that time in the late 70s, early 80s, Bruno Sammartino was the big draw for Italians and immigrants that came over to this country. And I would just see how riled up he got watching it. But there was just something about it. I remember watching it that just got me into it. It was just the way that the performers can control a crowd. And as I got older and continued watching it, I was just enamored by it, watching it week after week. I mean, I can remember not wanting to go out and play with my friends on the weekends because I wanted to make sure that I caught every single bit of wrestling that was on, because I was lucky enough to be exposed to WWF at the time, WCW, NWA at the time, which was very relatively unheard of to get, a southern station in the North area. But I was lucky enough to get both and was just enamored by it all. So that's kind of how I got into it.
It's just so amazing how you had all these different companies airing television shows.
Right.
And it's, my childhood was, of course, maybe like one or two companies, three, maybe, but like now it's accessible to anybody with the internet and technology, not just with cable television. So cool how it all evolved.
Services, yeah, you can get it all at your fingertips right now. If I were a kid now, I'd be a pig in what, because I'd have wrestling at my fingertips literally 24/7.
Yeah. So you got your training. You went to wrestling school. Tell me about the training process for you.
Yeah, so my training started late 2000, early 2001. Trained by a local journeyman by the name of Kevin Knight, who had a school in North Jersey that was probably about 45 minutes to an hour away from me. I was looking up wrestling schools, and obviously at the time, they're really internet's in its infancy, so you really can't find all that much information. But going to some of these independent shows that Kevin Knight was on, and his business partner, AJ Sparks, Michael Illians is his real name. But they started advertising that they were opening a wrestling school. And at the time, this was 1999. I, was still going to independent shows, couldn't afford to go yet. And then it just so happened late 2000, I was at a show that was held by their promotion, IWF, and they were hosting a 1-day fantasy camp tryout. And the winner got free training. And at the time, I was going to college, I was working a job, try to, make money, save money. So I'm thinking, oh, that this might be my opportunity where I can get free training, and jumped into that fantasy camp. I think there was like 10 or 12 people. Didn't win, but AJ pulled me aside and said, you came in at a close second, which I thought was really cool. But he said, I can't offer you the free training, but I can offer it to you for half. And the light bulb just went off of my head. I cut him a check that day for a deposit, and started my training, I think, a week or two later. And it was just one of those things where, you take your first, bump on the mat, and for some people, they can automatically say it's not for them. And for me, I wanted more. It was just something that it was ingrained in me that I wanted to do. But training then is a lot different than what the training is now today at wrestling schools. I was trained a little bit in that old, if you want to call it, like, kind of guys that were still keeping kayfabe in our industry. Guys that came in the previous generation, before me. And, at the time, society was very different, at that time. So, if you want to be a pro wrestler, this was not the school for you. If you wanted to just be a weekend warrior, if this was a school for you, they wanted you to make it. So training was 4 days a week, sometimes twice on Sundays, because they had an advanced class as well. But you had to earn your way into that. But warm-ups were pretty crazy. I mean, you're talking 200-300 squats, 200-300 jumping jacks, 100 to 100 plus push-ups, jogging around the building, multiple times, coming back, doing wind sprints, wheelbarrow rolls, before you'd even get in the ring. So you're already blown up at that point.
That's
But
like,
what it did was,
yeah, it's like heavy
it taught
duty,
you conditioning. Yeah.
heavy
It
duty
taught you
stuff right there.
conditioning, and it taught you conditioning. It taught you, but it also taught you to respect the ring. And what we do is, out of respect. Now, if you were to try to put on that kind of training, you'd probably be labeled a bully in certain aspects. I would kin to say that you really can't put people through that, that type of stuff that much these days. And maybe there are some that may disagree with me on it. But yeah, it was a completely different time in training and things of that nature. Like I said, here we are 23 years later, we're in a different world, different time. So
Yeah, it's definitely evolved. So
it
you
has.
made your debut. What can you tell me about your first few matches?
They were terrible. My first match was actually against a gentleman by the name of Eddie Moore, who everybody knows today as Eddie Kingston. Him and a couple of his buddies had trained at the same school. They started about 6 or 7 months prior to me. So he had, a good half a year ahead of me. And yeah, first couple matches I had were awful. My second match was supposed to be a tag team match, but my partner apparently had the flu.
Oh,
So my second match was a handicap match. My third match was my very first uh tag team match, and then I had a number of singles and tags after that. So I started out as a baby face, was pretty terrible at it for the first year, and then my trainer switched me to being a heel, and that's kind of where things started rocking and rolling, because for some reason I had a natural ability to get under people's skin. So yeah, they weren't the greatest. I still have the matches on VHS tape somewhere that I'd like to convert to
yeah,
an MP3 file at some point. So
yeah. Sure. I mean, I'm sure at wrestling schools they teach you how to both be a heel and baby face.
Correct. Yeah. Going back to when I learned to now coaching students now, I was very lucky to come where I came from because I had the right training from a lot of different sources. But I was taught everything. I was taught how to be a good guy, how to be a bad guy. I was taught how to referee. I was taught how to ring announce. I was taught how to do the music, how to do the lights, how to work the camera, how to work tickets, how to work concessions. So, all the things that you need to learn
Oh,
about our industry.
yeah, you got like an in-house experience. Seems like, and
It's
that's
college.
yeah.
Yeah, your wrestling training is like college, and then you go out into the real world and you start figuring it out.
Let's switch gears and talk about your charity work. Now, you've done a lot of stuff
Sure.
outside of wrestling. Tell me about some of the organizations that you've worked with.
Yeah, so I mean, I've done some charitable work within the industry with meet and greets and stuff like that at different events and being accessible. But a lot of the work that I'm very proud of is working for a former company in my real world, if you want to call it that. And I've done a lot of work with Make-A-Wish Foundation, and I've also done a lot of work with St. Jude's. The company that I worked for, was a retail company where obviously you would want to sponsor customers to donate and things of that nature. And I've done a lot of work in terms of promoting the organization at different live events, different fairs, things of that nature. I've also had the uh, amazing ability to visit the St. Jude's center and the Make-A-Wish Foundation Center as well, for the work that I've done. I do believe in giving back to things like that because there's a lot of kids that are going through things out there right now that need our help, and a lot of families that may not have the financial means. So being able to do that kind of work is very rewarding on a personal level. It's something that on a monetary level it couldn't buy for me. So incredible to have the opportunity to do that work.
Yeah, I mean, seems like you've done it for a long time too. How long have you been helping out with Make a Wish and St. Jude?
So I'm an active wish granter still with Make a Wish, but I'm not working with that company any further. But in total for both, I worked with Make a Wish for 7 years, and St. Jude I worked for 5.
Okay, so
But still hold that wish granter level. So, things that I like to try and find a way, if it's possible, to promote with independent shows of, granting wishes and things of that nature. I still put it out there, when I work with companies and see where we can do good business in terms of, wish granting and giving kids a great experience.
yeah. Has there been like any stories that you want to share about some of the experiences you've had while you've been working with those companies?
Yeah, I think the most fun experience was being able to go to the Make-A-Wish Center, and that when I got there they had like a whole events for the weekend set up there. And I think one of the most fun pieces of the time there that I had was they have a whole center set up with video games. Um and they had all the kids there at different times playing video games, and I don't think I've ever had more fun with kids that I did there, because these kids were just so full of life. They were putting what was going on with them health wise in the rearview mirror for a little bit of time, and just putting themselves out there to experience playing these games with myself and others that came there. And I think to me that was a really rewarding time because there were a lot of kids that had so much personality and so much to give, that they were making me laugh, and I think they were doing, I dare to say they were doing more for me than I probably was doing for them, because leaving there gave me a different perspective and a new lease on the life that I have, and what we all can do with that to make lives better.
I bet they were very happy to see you.
I hope they were. Like I said, I tried to make it fun for them, but they were the ones that were making me laugh the entire time. Like I said, these kids have such big hearts, and they're so courageous for battling what they're going through, and they're the true warriors.
Oh, sure. I mean, they're fighting every day.
So I guess were you a big video game player growing up too?
As a kid, I kind of lost interest in my late teens and early 20s when I got involved in professional wrestling. That really took a back seat. Every now and then I'll pick up a controller and I'll play a game here and there, but it's not like I used to. I don't
Yeah,
get sucked into the video game world like I did when I was a teenager.
right. That had to have been such a good feeling though.
An amazing feeling. It's something that even in certain ways words really can't express, what those experiences meant to me.
Yeah, definitely. Um, were there any other memorable experiences that you had working with different functions?
Yeah, I think one of them was being able to kind of on the video game piece there too, was being able to grant wishes. A number of wishes that my organization helped grant was for kids to have video game shopping sprees. And there was a GameStop where I was working in Manhattan at the time, and we were able to partner with those and really fulfill these kids' dreams of giving them wish granting and having them go in on shopping sprees and with a certain dollar amount, just letting them, roam the store and buy whatever they want and just see the smile on their faces afterwards with the bags of
Oh,
stuff they were able to take home with them.
that's so awesome. That's really cool. Yeah. Why do you feel so passionate about helping out in your community?
I think it's just it's giving back. Obviously, I say that I'm very privileged in the life that I've led and the way that I was raised, and I know others maybe didn't have the same opportunities that I did, and I want to be able to give back to try and help some of these kids and those that are in need, be able to access that kind of life and that lifestyle, even if it's just for a little bit, and make them feel as comfortable and as well thought out, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Hey, listen, Shawn, again, I just want to say thank you very much for coming on the show.
Very
Where
well.
can, yeah, where can people find you on social media?
Sure. So I use three different well, four technically. So you can find me on Facebook as just under Shawn Donavan. It's spelled Donavan. I know sometimes people spell it and it doesn't come up. On Twitter and Instagram, you can find me at Shawn Donavan 01. And then I also have a YouTube channel with all of my work on there. Well, most of it. I'm trying to get all of it, up in a
Yeah, yeah,
certain amount of time. But they can find me if they just type in Shawn Donavan, Donavan, on YouTube as well. So if you like my work, subscribe to the channel, and when I post new stuff up, you'll get a notification.
right on. And I'm sure we'll see those early matches on there at some point soon.
Yes, you will. Once I can get them digitized, I will definitely put them up, and so everyone can be cringeworthy of my work.
All right, thanks again.
No, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.